to be joined now by a mixed media artist, Michelle Sider, whose current works you can find over at the Janice Carrick Gallery in West Bloomfield Township. Michelle, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm very excited to speak with you.
And glad to have you with us. First, can you tell us about your background and kind of how you got into these forms of art that you produce and what drew you to it as a career?
Well, I've always been creative. My mom tells a story that as an infant, I was playing with the sunbeams that came through the window. So and she helped to encourage me. And my aunt was an artist, among other things. So I had some great examples. But it was really my high school art teacher who said to me that I should consider going into art as a profession. And I hadn't really considered it seriously until then. So I have her to thank, Mrs. Benson. And I went to art school at University of Michigan, and I was mainly a painter. I've been a painter for many, many years. And then I had a little circuitous route. I became a psychologist and used art therapy, art teacher, and now I'm doing my art full-time. But when I started back 7 years ago to do my art full-time, I really switched from painting to glass mosaic. And it is a medium that I just love. I love the glass. I have some of it behind me. You can see some of it reflecting. There's different types of glass that reflect in different ways, and you can put it in at different angles. And I'm having a whole lot of fun incorporating my painting background with a whole new medium. And kind of doing this a little later in life, I have some things to say that I wouldn't have wanted to, or didn't have in mind to say when I was working, when I was younger.
So you began your journey as an artist as a painter, and now you're doing work more with glass art. And I see the works behind you. For those that are listening on the radio, highly encourage you to go to civiccentertv.com/megacast later on in the day and view this. You can see some of Michelle's work behind her in the background of her interview. These glass works, you said that behind you, this is all glass, correct?
Correct.
And
yeah.
So they look like paintings. They're made of glass, but they look like paintings, and you're labeled as a mixed media mosaic artist. Can you give us a little bit of insight in what that means to be a mixed media artist and create art that looks and is of a variety of different art forms?
Well, as I said, I started out as a painter, and the works of mixed media to me now, I'm still painting a bit, but I'm mainly doing glass mosaic. And the reason why I say mixed media is because I am incorporating a whole bunch of different things into the works. So for those people who can see, behind me, I have one of my recent series which, on the side of the road, where I am collecting and using different things that I've collected from the side of the road, such as bicycle gears and pieces of metal and things like that, rocks, and incorporating it in with the glass. It's mainly glass that I'm using, but the other piece to the other side of me, which is another series I'm doing, has a handmade jewelry. I've been researching and creating handmade jewelry that is going into these pieces that tell some historical information. So mixed media is, I'm kind of having fun discovering different types of glass from all over the world. Some are chunky and thick, and some are iridized, and I place them in at different angles to create different effects. So I'm actually not just showing light in my pieces, but I'm actually creating light by the angles in which I place the different pieces to see and have something fun that changes color throughout the day. And it's really a fun experience to look at. And my painting background, you can see, I actually, underneath each one of my mosaics is a fully realized painting. I spend a lot of time drawing and painting and figuring out what I'm going to do before I start. So yeah, I'm incorporating a lot of different aspects from my background into my pieces now.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see these because, as I mentioned earlier, they do look like paintings. They're made of glass, and now that you mentioned that you have actual paintings behind them, the glass element of it does give it a certain depth and a certain three-dimensional nature to it that really adds to these pieces. How much of an impact has your painting background had, or an influence has that had on the composition, particularly of your glass pieces?
It's huge, actually. Actually, I'm going to be teaching a class online about it soon. It is a big part. I really thank my classical instructors for learning about composition and value and color theory and how to direct somebody's eye to a certain part of a piece. One example I use, a lot of people are familiar with Vermeer's painting of the woman with the pearl earring, where that's what everybody looks at is the pearl earring, because he's created a focal point that's bright for the pearl and everything else around it is dark. So the idea is that as an artist, you can actually lead the viewer's eye to where you want them to look and what you want them to see, and actually how you want them to, hopefully, expressing an idea and a feeling through the colors, through the composition. So it's critical for me. It's critical in how I put these pieces together, and then the fun. It's kind of another fun added experience of then creating that imagery with glass. And the glass is not transparent; it's actually opaque, and the colors are very, very rich.
And so you can see a lot of Michelle's work at the 4th Annual Michigan Regional Glass Exhibition. That is at the Janice Carrick Gallery in West Bloomfield. That's on the campus of the Jewish Community Center on Drake Road in West Bloomfield Township. That's running now through May 18th over there at the Janice Carrick Gallery. Now through May 18th, the 4th Annual Michigan Regional Glass Exhibition. Can you tell us about some of the pieces that you have on site there at the Janice Carrick Gallery that are part of this exhibition, and what were some of the choices that you made behind putting those certain pieces in this exhibition?
Well, first of all, I'm very excited to be in the exhibition. I'm among 52 glass artists, and I'm honored to be the only glass mosaic artist in the group. There's a lot of a variety of different things that each artist is doing something very different with glass. So it's really an interesting show, and there's great light in the gallery, so you can see it really well. The pieces that I have in the show are from my On the Side of the Road series, which is really, I think, a really cool series, which was inspired, as everybody can relate to the condition of the Michigan roads with potholes and cracks. I had an experience where I was riding my bicycle and I had to look down so I wouldn't hit a pothole or go into a crack and get hurt. And while I was looking down, I noticed that the cracks in the cement and the cracks in the concrete and the sides of the asphalt created really interesting composition and designs with the cracks themselves. So I got all excited as an artist. I hop off my bike. I started taking photos of these different abstract patterns. I went back into my studio and started drawing and painting, and eventually made some glass mosaic pieces that show my view from the side of the road as I'm looking down, and these kind of cool abstract patterns. So the pieces in the show are abstract, but if you look and understand that it's from the seat of my bicycle, you can kind of see that you're kind of looking down a perspective a little bit down a road, and with all sorts of interesting, there's rocks, there's beads, there's glass, there's different materials in them that are reflective and interesting. And for the people who can see on TV right now, the piece behind me actually has the bicycle gears and chains and rocks and different things in there that are just, it's fun and very abstract, fun series. But making a commentary about our state of our infrastructure.
We're joined by mixed media mosaic artist Michelle Sider on the Oakland County Megacast. Her work on display among the art of 51 other glass artists at the Janice Carrick Gallery in West Bloomfield Township now through May 18th of this year. You can learn more information by visiting gallery.jccdet.org. Gallery.jccdet.org for their hours of operation and to learn more about Michelle and the 51 other artists on display at the 4th Michigan Regional Glass Exhibition over there at the Janice Carrick Gallery, running now through May 18th of this year. And so, Michelle, you had mentioned earlier that you were at one point in your career an art teacher. You were also a kid that grew up enjoying art and loving art and were inspired by an art teacher in your youth to go into art as a career. For those parents out there right now that have kids that are really interested in art and have taken that up as a passion of theirs and maybe considering it as a career, what advice do you have for them on what their kids can do and what the parents can do too to inspire their kids and prepare them for a career potentially as an artist?
Great question. The first thing I want to say is if you notice that your kid is creative or maybe doesn't think like everybody else around them, a lot of creative people think differently. They have different points of view. Encourage it. Encourage it so much. And art is a viable career. I'd love to get rid of the old and not true idea of the starving artist. It's not true. We have a world right now that's so visual. Everything, people are on screens. There's videos, there's art, there's music, there's dance, all these different creative art forms. They're hot, and you can have a great career in it. And I would like to encourage parents to think that way, because as an art teacher, I know that some parents were out of love and concern for their kids. Well, they wanted to have something more practical to go into rather than art. And I would say encourage your kid. If they have passion, that's the best thing. If you can have a career in something that you love, you are a lucky person. And I would encourage people to look in their communities. So they're maybe even ask if you have an art teacher or teachers at the school, who's in the community that's teaching art. And even if you can't do that or you can't afford to do that, create a corner in the kitchen where your child can sit down and get a little messy and play. And you don't even have to buy expensive materials. Literally, you could take the leftover water from coffee and use that with a brush and paint with that. You can take the charcoal that's left over from if you had a fire in the backyard, not a real, but a fire, cooking marshmallows or something. The leftover charcoal is a medium that people have used as an art tool for thousands of years. So there's things around you that you can use and just encourage them. And of course, there are after school activities and programs. So look them up. That's what my mom did. And I was so grateful for that. I was involved in some after school art programs and I loved it. It was my favorite part of the day and really encouraged me to become an artist. And those art teachers out there, God bless you. You're helping people find real viable careers and something exciting.
You're listening to your radio homes for the Megacast, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. We're joined by Michelle Sider, a mixed media mosaic artist, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. Her art on display among the art of 51 other glass artists at the Janice Carrick Gallery in West Bloomfield Township, now through May 18th. The Janice Carrick Gallery is on the campus of the Jewish Community Center, located on Drake Road in West Bloomfield. More information on their website, gallery.jccdet.org. That's gallery.jccdet.org. Michelle, in 2017, you and Rabbi Joseph Krakoff published a book called Never Enough Time, aimed at helping children grieving with the loss of a loved one. Can you talk about that particular book? What went into your collaboration with the rabbi, and what was kind of the story behind initiating the production of this book?
Thank you for asking. The book is called Never Long Enough. And it is actually a beautiful book that helps people deal with the loss of a loved one or the grieving process. And we both came to it from different points of view, and it's a beautiful collaboration. And just in a wider sense, I want to say that while my partner is a rabbi and I'm also Jewish, that this book is not a Jewish book. It's not a religious book at all. It cuts across race, religion, sexual orientation, anything that we could use to divide ourselves in society. This cuts across all of it. It deals with loving somebody, and if you are losing somebody or lost somebody, the pain and the grief involved, and that cuts across all social class and everything. And it's a beautiful book that basically is prose, a poem broken down to different ideas, and each page has an original drawing or painting that takes you slows you down and takes you through some different ideas to help you really honor the grieving process, to help you then move forward. And it's not a how-to book. It's actually just a really beautiful book that's very, I feel like it's very sensitively done. We took 3 years to create it and thought very carefully about every single detail that went into it. And people can go through slowly and with loved ones to read the different beautiful ideas in the book. And it starts out black and white, and it ends up in full color paintings, to the idea of going through the grieving process and then to hope at the end. The way it first started was Rabbi Krakoff was looking for somebody to illustrate some of his poetry. He's very talented and has a number of poems. I read his poem. He came to me and I read his poems, and this one poem in particular really struck me for a lot of different reasons. It's beautiful. I said, oh my goodness, we have to do something with this poem. So it was basically this one beautiful poem about loss that we focused on and then rewrote and created into a book. And at the end of the book, we have empty pages for people to write down their feelings. And feedback that we've gotten from people is that they've really used it almost as a journal or as a diary to talk about their loved ones and their relationship. And we actually created a sequel, which is a coloring book / workbook around the same poem, the same ideas, but we've expanded it, and we have some prompt questions, more blank pages, but it's also a coloring book so that a caregiver and somebody who's ill or family members after someone who has died can come together and color and talk about their loved ones, write down their ideas, and it really becomes a very valuable way to for the grieving process and to really honor your loved one.
Michelle, before we let you go, if people would like to obtain a copy of Never Long Enough or see any of your other work, where can they find you online, on your website and on social media?
Thanks for asking. So I do have a website. It's my name, Michelle, Michelle, S studio.com. So it's michellesstudio.com is where you can see my work. And the book has its own website. It's called neverlongenough.net. So you can purchase books straight from the website there. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. My name is Michelle Sider, with like apple cider, but with an S. You can find my work online.
More information about the 4th Michigan Regional Glass Exhibition, which is going on now through May 18th, and features Michelle's works at the Janice Carrick Gallery in West Bloomfield Township on their website, gallery.jccdet.org. You can learn more about Michelle by visiting her website, michellesstudio.com, and learn more and obtain Never Long Enough by visiting neverlongenough.net. Michelle, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.